Is anime a new model for masculinity? I saw this really interesting post by IGN, Video Game Culture Online Magazine, which says a Taiwanese man helped stop a knife attack because that's what his anime hero, Himmel, from Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, would do. By the way, if I mispronounce that anime, sorry, let me know in the comments. He also said he hopes his actions and pride as an otaku will help improve public perception of those who identify as such. That's a really interesting thing. I wonder, just in the back of my mind, if anime has, at least in the last 10 or 15 years, become a new model for younger men and boys to think about what it means to be masculine. I mean, it used to be comic books and sport heroes. So that, what is it, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, Superman, Batman, all this kind of stuff. Then cartoons were pretty popular. And there's a sense in which these superheroes motivated you to be more you than you, I suppose, a more super version of you. And they embodied values like truth and honesty and justice that we would imitate. But I've noticed, and I don't know the statistics on this, that people are now trending towards manga and anime versus comic books and cartoons, at least in the American style. There's been some of this going on for a while. I think Dragon Ball Z was an example of an anime that, at least in the West, really made people take an interest in Japanese anime and manga. It also exhibited these superhuman characters who generally valued things like loyalty, justice, strength, and so on. But then, of course, not all anime does this. In fact, anime has all sorts of moral quandaries and gray areas and black and white. Sometimes the hero's journey is not just like Superman or Batman was. Sometimes it's quite dark. And so I'd be curious to know what the future will be like. By the way, an otaku is someone who's really into anime, manga culture, sort of a fan, you might say. I think in a negative way, sometimes the stereotype means that you're someone who doesn't really have responsibility, but really is into being a fan. But positively, you could just say this is a hobby that you enjoy. And you can be critical of that, but I do wonder how often people watch hours and hours of sports or hours and hours of shows and so on. I'm not sure there's anything exceptional about someone who loves anime, except for it's just a new medium to be interested in. However, a lot of these shows do have visions of masculinity, of protection, of male-female connections and relationships. Most of the time, the roles are pretty traditional, where the male leads and the female perhaps follows or whatever. So these are interesting kind of relational mores that are atypical in the West, and yet they're still very, very popular in the West. And I wonder if that tells you something about the yearnings of masculinity as well. I don't know, but I did find it interesting. Tell me what you think.